What if nothing should exist? Not empty space, not darkness, not silence. Because even those are still something. No time ticking forward, no past, no future, no moment to exist in, no atoms, no light, no energy, no laws of physics holding anything together because there is nothing to hold. No thoughts, no awareness, no one to even realize that nothing is there. Not even nothing as we understand it. Because the idea of nothing is still an idea, and an idea requires a mind. Now imagine trying to strip all of that away. No universe, no space to contain it, no beginning, no end, no possibility. Just absolute non-existence. A state so complete, it erases the concept of existence itself. And here's the disturbing part. That should be the default. No universe is simpler than a universe. No laws is simpler than laws. Nothing is easier than something. It requires no explanation, no cause, no origin. So, by all logic, there should be nothing. And yet, there isn't. You're here, listening to this. Somewhere in a vast universe that exists for no obvious reason, which leads to a question so unsettling. It has haunted philosophers, scientists, and thinkers for centuries. Why is there something rather than nothing? Because if nothing was ever truly possible, then why didn't it win? For centuries, that question has refused to go away. Not because we don't have answers, but because every answer seems to break the moment you look at it too closely. Most of what we call understanding the universe is really just understanding how things behave after they already exist. We know how stars are born, we know how galaxies collide. We can even trace the evolution of the cosmos back billions of years. But that's not the real question. The real question is far more uncomfortable. Why is there anything here to begin with? The German philosopher Gottfried Wilhelm Leibniz put it simply. Why is there something rather than nothing? It sounds innocent, almost obvious, until you realize it changes everything. Because every other question depends on this one. Why do planets orbit stars? Why does gravity exist? Why does life emerge? All of those assume one thing first, that there is a universe. But what if that assumption is the mystery? Think about it. If nothing existed, there would be no need for an explanation. No equations, no theories, no confusion. Nothing would demand a reason. But the moment something exists, even a single particle, you now have a problem. Because existence itself needs an explanation. And this is where things get strange. Science, our most powerful tool for understanding reality, can take us incredibly far. It can rewind the universe back to its earliest moments. It can describe in astonishing detail how everything expanded, cooled, and formed the structures we see today. But when we push it to the absolute beginning, we hit a wall. A boundary where our equations stop making sense. A point where even time itself may not exist. And beyond that point, we don't know. We don't even know what it would mean to know. So we give that beginning a name, the Big Bang. A moment, roughly 13.8 billion years ago, when the universe began expanding from an incredibly hot, dense state. It sounds like an answer. It feels like an origin. But it isn't the end of the mystery. Because the Big Bang doesn't explain why there is something. It only describes what happened after something was already there. It doesn't tell us where that something came from. It doesn't tell us why the laws of physics exist, or why they have the exact values that allow matter, stars, and life to form. And it definitely doesn't tell us why there isn't simply nothing. So now the question becomes even sharper. If the Big Bang was the beginning of our universe, what caused it? What existed before it? Or more disturbingly, Did before even exist at all? Because if time itself started at the Big Bang, then asking what came before it might be like asking what's north of the North Pole. A question that sounds meaningful, but may not have an answer. And that leaves us in a very strange place. We have a universe. We can describe it. We can explore it. But when we ask the simplest, most fundamental question, why does it exist? We're still standing in the dark. So let's go to the place where most explanations begin. The Big Bang. You've probably heard it before. The moment everything started. The birth of the universe. Roughly 13.8 billion years ago, all of space, all of matter, all of energy existed in an incredibly hot, dense state. Not spread out across the cosmos, but compressed into something unimaginably small. A singularity. No stars, no galaxies, no structure, just pure potential. And then it expanded. Not like an explosion in space, but an expansion of space itself. In a fraction of a second, the universe grew. It cooled. Particles formed. Atoms followed. Gravity pulled matter together. Stars ignited. Galaxies took shape. Eventually, everything we see today emerged from that single event. It's one of the greatest scientific achievements in human history. A model that explains the evolution of the universe with stunning precision. But here's the problem. It doesn't answer the question we started with. Not even close. Because the Big Bang doesn't explain why the universe exists. It only describes how it changed once it already did. Think about it. Where did that singularity come from? Why did it exist instead of nothing? What triggered the expansion? And maybe the strangest question of all, why are there laws of physics at all? Because the Big Bang depends on them. It assumes gravity behaves a certain way. It assumes energy follows rules. It assumes the universe is governed by consistent principles. But who or what set those rules? Why these laws and not others? Why do they allow matter to form instead of collapsing instantly or never existing at all? And then there's the question that breaks everything. What happened before the Big Bang? At first, it sounds like a reasonable question, but the deeper you go, the less sense it makes. Because time itself may have started with the Big Bang, which means there was no before, no earlier moment, no prior state, no waiting period where nothing existed, just a beginning, or at least something that looks like one. And if that's true, then we're left with something even more unsettling. The universe didn't come from nothing, but it also didn't come from something within time. It just appeared. Or more precisely, our understanding of reality reaches a point where the concept of cause might no longer apply. And that's where the Big Bang stops being an answer and starts becoming a boundary, a line we can approach, but not cross, because beyond it, we don't just lack information. We may lack the ability to even ask the right question. So we're left with the same mystery. Not how the universe evolved, not how stars were born, but why there is something here at all, instead of nothing.